Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Well, here we go my dear friends. The final episode of the Book of Boba Fett Season 1 drops in just a few hours, and I just hope that we have so much to talk about afterwards that will keep the excitement and hype going long after the show is over. If the Mandalorian Season 2 finale taught us anything, is that we just don't know what surprises are going to come. We do not know what Lucasfilm have planned for this episode. All we do know is that Robert Rodriguez is directing, and it's very likely that Boba is going to ride his Rancor and face Cad Bane 1-to-1. In terms of the episode's length, we've heard from multiple outlets this past week that it is going to be standard runtime, although some have claimed it leans on the longer side. We have to keep our expectations realistic, and while I'm sure we all want a super long episode, do not go in expecting one. Otherwise, there's always a chance of being disappointed. Having said that, if it is going to be over an hour long, I'm going to be super happy. Now today, my dear Mandalorians, is the red carpet Book of Boba Fett finale premiere, which was originally postponed due to COVID concerns. Now the reason that I bring this event up is that it's been hyped in light of how big this last episode apparently is. Chapter 7 is reportedly going to be a very special episode, not only for showrunner Robert Rodriguez, but also for Temuera Morrison. And from what we've been hearing, it's going to be one of the most impressive pieces of live action content of the Disney Star Wars era. Now even though I think we're expecting a season 2 in ways that we're not expecting, this last episode of season 1 could be surprisingly satisfying and tie everything together, notably chapters 5 and 6 with chapters 1 to 4. Some people have been saying that these last two episodes felt kind of out of place, almost like they didn't belong in a Boba Fett show. But we've got to remember that Kathleen Kennedy said that the Book of Boba Fett is the next chapter of the Mandalorian story, and it's also been called The Mandalorian Season 2.5, but in spite of that, I think there is a bigger connection that they're going to make in this last episode that will make us look back and see the bigger picture. And even if there isn't, then that's fine, because we can then say that chapters 5 and 6 served as a connecting point to what's coming in The Mandalorian Season 3. It's very apparent that the so-called Favroniverse is intertwined, and we need to get used to these overlaps because they're also going to be present in the Ahsoka series and future seasons of The Mandalorian as well. And what I'm trying to say is, while it's been very Mando-centric the last two episodes, we're about to find out why. Some people have complained that the Mando, Luke and Grogu story has been thrown in out of the blue, but as the Boba Fett fan club rightly said as a rebuttal, Robert Rodriguez and Favreau are copying the style of Shakespeare's Macbeth, wherein Macbeth becomes absent in the last leg of his tragedy, but then comes back with a vengeance for the final showdown at the end. And that's how we should be viewing the layout of this series. So in this last one, Boba is coming back for an epic showdown. And while Boba Fett was absent in chapter 5 and didn't have much screen time at all in the last episode, when you think about it, this is a world that Boba Fett has shaped. In a sense, he's still writing the pages of this book, even if sometimes we can't see his hands. But as I say, going into the final chapter, his big showdown, so to speak, is likely going to be the encounter with Cad Bane. And brace yourselves, Clone Wars fans, this is the face-off we've been waiting for. Now moving on, something that inevitably needs to be spoken about, but that I don't want to dwell too much on, are the so-called cameos and big character appearances. I think we're definitely going to get some more. In the last few weeks I've put forward many theories, and we have certainly heard some interesting scoops. While I don't want to put any crazy predictions out there, I think Bossk is very likely for this last episode. There have been hints throughout the show, the biggest one being Black Krrsantan taking out those Trandoshans. Wookiees have been subjected to cruelty by Trandoshans for thousands of years, and that's why Black Krrsantan can't stand them, so I could definitely see Black K versus Bossk as one of the epic moments of this final episode. And maybe, for all we know, the Syndicate hired both Cad Bane and Bossk as reinforcement. We knew about Cad Bane, but we don't know who else they have as their muscle. But just like the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, predictions can sometimes be quite futile because they like to surprise us in ways we don't expect. So expect the unexpected, and whatever happens, we can then discuss afterwards. Which of course I will be doing in my full episode breakdown. Look out for that tomorrow, it's coming your way. Now yesterday I mentioned how a Star Wars author teased that there are some Solo connections to Boba Fett in his upcoming comic, which kind of hints that it could be teased in live action first, so if I had to put money on any specific set of characters, it would be them. But as I say, I don't want to put out anything too concrete. It's always best to let the story unfold in front of us. But look, If Robert Rodriguez is confident that this last episode is going to over-deliver, then let's see if he's right. I want to keep my expectations low, but at the same time, I have really high hopes for this. Now, something in the plot we know that I think we're going to see is where Mayor Mok Shaiz went. We know that he's gone off-world and is working with the Pike Syndicate, and if we're taken to where he's gone, then maybe we'll see who's working with the Pikes aside from Cad Bane. And another question is, are we going to be taken off-world with Slave One, or are we going to remain on Tatooine? Now, I want to address something that a lot of you brought up, and I think it's worth talking about here. Is there going to be a post-credit scene, or something right at the end that teases another spin-off, or a second season of Boba? I'm gonna say whether it's a post-credit scene or a cliffhanger, there is gonna be something right at the end to tease fans. And I'm happy with either. Considering the Book of Boba Fett was announced through a post-credit scene to begin with, it only makes sense to have things come full circle by ending season 1 with something that keeps the fans on the edge of our seats. So now, my dear friends, as always, we're going to take a look at the big posters of the week. But for chapter 6, they only gave us the one, which does come as a surprise, considering they gave us Ahsoka, Luke, and Grogu in chapter 6. But this one of Cad Bane does look incredible. I know a lot of folks have had issues with the live-action version of him, but I think he's perfect. He is much older now than when we see him in the Clone Wars or the Bad Batch, and they did an excellent job at staying true to George Lucas's depiction of live-action Duros. With the orange background, he's epic, and he's going to be even more epic when we see him in just a few hours' time. Now, I have one question for you guys. Do you think Cad Bane is going to meet his end in this series, or is he going to survive when Boba encounters him? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. You know, something else I've been thinking about is before the show dropped, Ming-Na said we're going to have a lot of questions answered. We have had a few answers to our questions, but not all of them, so I wonder what's going to be addressed in chapter 7, if anything at all. Now, speaking of unanswered questions, something fascinating that Temuera Morrison wants is Boba Fett to get revenge on Mace Windu. You guys know me, I've made tons of videos on Mace, and I think he lived. I'm 100% in agreement with Temuera Morrison. He put this forward in a recent interview and expressed wanting Jon Favreau to write that into the script of season 2, Boba Fett tracking down Mace Windu, and by the end, facing him. Now, I think Temuera Morrison said this for two reasons. Either he's messing with us and knows something that's still to be revealed, or he's just confirmed that Mace Windu is not going to be in the next episode. Now, personally, I've kind of backed away from the Mace Windu thing over the last few weeks, because it's not been looking likely that he's going to appear, but I would still love it if he does right at the end. So while I'm losing hope it's going to happen, it would be a dream come true, and the fact that Temuera Morrison brought this up really gets you thinking, does he know something? Is he teasing something? Or just expressing his wishes? So by the looks of things, George Lucas, Samuel L. Jackson, Temuera Morrison, and Star Wars Meg are all in agreement that Mace Windu lived. I just wonder if they really had the guts to make it happen, because a lot of fans do not want him to come back. So let's see what Temuera Morrison said. I owe Mace Windu big time for my dad. Windu is done. He's done. I've got my eye on him. He is top of the list, in fact. When Morrison's co-star Ming-Na suggested slow torture for Windu at the hands of a character, Morrison said, definitely yes. And could you imagine if they wrapped up season 1 by teasing that Mace Windu is still alive? Maybe Boba gets word that he's still out there, and that teases what Temuera Morrison is suggesting, that in season 2 he tries to track him down. This would also be poetic with the earlier episodes of the show, where we got those flashbacks to Kamino and Geonosis, because Jango Fett still means so much to Boba. And as I say, as much as I would love to see Mace Windu tomorrow, I'm not too sure it's gonna happen. But you know what? We all love to be surprised, so let's just see what happens. But otherwise, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of this news update. If you enjoyed it, you know what to do. Please give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and a massive welcome if you are. And why not consider becoming a patron? The link is down there in the description, and we have so many streams and videos that you cannot find here on YouTube. But until tomorrow, my dear friends, where I will be doing my full episode breakdown, may the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg. Have a good one.